Hello everyone. Welcome to the Prosh Connects Episode 2. We're your hosts Pranav and Naz. And today we have Victoria, the founder of New Wave AI. Hey Victoria, can you tell us a little more about your startup that you're building?
Yeah, of course. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Victoria, and I am the co founder of New Wave. And we're currently building an influencer marketing platform dedicated to helping startup founders to scale through influencer marketing. And so, basically, how we got started with our startup is me, actually, I'm also a content creator on the side. So, I know kind of how influencers work and how content creators work. And at the same time, my co founder actually worked as a small business founders before. And so it was really kind of two perspectives combining together. And one problem that we kind of discover is that startup founders, especially the ones that are in their early stages, pre-seed, seed, and Series A, they probably don't have enough budget to help them to scale and acquire users. And that's when influencer marketing comes in, which is a way for them to really scale, acquire users, and even gain awareness through the help of creators with the lowest budget and least amount of friction as possible. And that's why we're here to kind of connect the two dots together and really helping startup founders like myself and like many others to grow.
Great. That's nice to hear. Could you tell us a bit more about how you and your co-founder met? Like we hear all sorts of stories. There's many uh co-founder pairs like met. They were like roommates or classmates or like childhood best friends. But what is your story? How did you guys meet?
Oh, me and my co-founder.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, kind of we were acquaintances in college, so I always like run into him, say hi, but never like close friends. And then until one day, it was after I graduated, he texted me. He was like, "Hey, Victoria, do you want to grab food sometime?" And not gonna lie, I was like, "Are you trying to hit on me?" I even went. I went to lunch with him, and then at the end, we talked for I think it was like 3 4 hours just in the same restaurant about like how our lives has been and also how we can work together. And we found out that we're actually from the same hometown in China. So we're both from Guangzhou, literally living in very similar streets, have very similar childhood memories. And I think that's when everything started to all click together. We can speak the same language, Chinese, Mandarin, English, and I went to the same undergrad, similar friend group. So I think that sort of previous connection really helped us to bond together and develop that trust between each other. So I would say pretty spontaneous on that end.
Yeah, I think having similar origins really helps because me and Naz as well are both from Bangalore, India. We never knew each other back then from India, but we met as we were finding roommates to come to Syracuse. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
yeah,
that.
Yeah, we also have like a lot of like shared experiences like within the city. Like we're always like in and around the same circles, but we
Mhm.
never interacted
yeah,
directly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think these sort of like pairings, which it sort of like helps you. How do I say this? You know, build trust enough to be able to say and communicate clearly, especially when you're like building, because you need to be able to give feedback then, there, and quite a few times, like in a very harsh tone. So I think having like a lot of shared experiences and childhood like enables you to do that very easily.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like, oh, everything happens for a reason. It all brings
Yeah,
back to the same dot. So definitely
exactly.
really appreciate the connection. And I think having that lays a very strong background between this partnership between co-founders.
So, so Victoria is actually a student. So, can you tell us about how were you're juggling between building a startup and your coursework in university?
Yeah, so I'm currently actually going to Northwestern. They're an integrated marketing communications program for my grad degree. And so I would say it's definitely a little bit challenging because the course is already 40 hours amount of work, and then also on top of that is startups. So I would say at times it does feel a little bit hard to manage time, but I think at the end it comes to how much are you willing to sacrifice your personal time. So um, let's say, like, in grad school we probably expect to socialize with different people, network, but then once you kind of divide your time up, okay, I need to dedicate more time to my startup, then naturally I'm not going to have those wine Wednesday or like getting food with my friends. So that's going to be reduce exponentially. So I think at the end it comes to how I dedicate my time. It would be after homework and then startup and then even creating content. And then for socializing with my friends, it would be like, okay, guys, I'm only getting food and I'm leaving. Like no other hangouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that phase of like building from like 0 to 1 can be like incredibly how do I say this, frustrating in a way, because you have to like sacrifice on a lot of these social things and events and just like focus on building and all of that. I truly get how frustrating it can be, especially when you're in like grad school. And I mean, we recently graduated as well, and I could say for sure, like we didn't have like a single minute of free time. I believe we had to start Prosh, a startup, like after we graduated. It can be like incredibly hard. Uh, could you walk us through the reasoning of like, why should you get into like marketing, like as a major or like as for New Wave? Is this something like you were always interested in? Is this something you were like you thought you were inherently good at? So we're just trying to like get to know you more as a
Yeah,
person.
of course, I'd love to share. I would say, because I was actually born in China, and then when I was
Mm-hmm.
12, I moved to LA for middle school and high school, and then for college, I went to Boston. So kind of all over the US. But when I was actually studying abroad initially, I started to make content. So I like was posting a few blogs about my study abroad experience, sharing that, and I think I got pretty lucky that those posts gathered some attention. And so that's why I was like, okay. And I think back in the day, it was, I would say 6, 7 years ago. So before content creation was a super popular thing. Back in the day, influencer was the word that was like, oh, like, who are they? So that was kind of the age that I was in. And it was still blog. And then I turned those into videos. And then they started to do better and better. And so I transitioned my content from, my study abroad experience to teaching people English and then to sharing about cultural exchanges. And then I think fast forward to when I was in college, I hit one of my viral video. I would say that now it's almost reaching 1 million views on a
Mm-hmm.
platform called Red Note,
That's
which
great.
is Instagram. So I think that's the moment when I realized, oh, probably I might be good at those kind of things, sharing content and resonating with people. Maybe I have a slightly better edge than other people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that opened the door for me to be more dedicated. Okay, I want to major in marketing. I want to dedicate more time into that. So I would say that was me catching the first wave of influencer
Mm.
marketing. I was already in it without even realizing, oh, like I
Yeah.
was in the industry. But that was more from the content creator side. And then after that viral video, I got a couple brand deals from Lancome, from Visa, and super, super grateful for those opportunities. And at the same time, I realized that this is a huge industry basically, and there's so many different niches when brands wanted to have a campaign with you. So whether it is a huge campaign, big brands, Nike, Sephora, or smaller brands like startups, or even just different kind of businesses. So that's why when I realized, okay, there's a lot of friction and there's a lot of problems that's waiting to be conquered in that field. So that's why that leads my way into New Wave. But I would say marketing in general, I definitely really enjoy it. It's creative, it's fun. Not sure about how the pay is in a corporate job. Yeah.
Yeah, it I think it's a pretty it's not that great I mean with the pay especially, but then I feel like if you like really love what you're doing like you are, I don't think that contributes into the equation.
hmm Yeah, but definitely super fun. And I think it wasn't until maybe the recent 4 or 5 years that's when content creation really started taking off, and more people are more willing to create content. And that's something that I'm also navigating as well. Where how do I transition the content that I make facing a Chinese Asian audience to an audience in the US? What do they like? What kind of format do they prefer? And that's something I'm continuing to figure out, and hopefully I can get more feedback and improvement on.
That's great. Being in the content creation space, I had a question. A startup like ours, or any other startup building something in tech, do we focus on building content of ourselves as founders or pushing out content more about our product? What do you think is more important, or would you say both are?
Ooh, that's a great question. Because, I always love a good storytelling angle. And I think that documenting someone's journey building something, that's like one of the most fascinating thing ever. Because I'm sure you guys can relate. There's so many learnings throughout this process, so many challenges every single day, and you're finding a solution every single day. I think this process is definitely, um, has a great story arc to it naturally. So I would say, oh, that's a hard question. I mean, if you can, I would say going both ways might be
Yeah.
amazing, but it's definitely really hard to, have two content streams kind of going out. Uh, but I would always lean towards documenting your own journey, while if you can embed your product in those videos, that would be amazing.
That's great. Yeah, and when we're talking about like in this stream of like building and then all like what would be a good way to build a brand, what as New Wave is building the brand right now, what do you think? I mean, if you're able to share, like what do you think is like the one biggest challenge or like the one big hurdle that you see ahead? And like this is supposed to be like the hurdle which like if you do cross it, it pushes New Wave into like the next realm of existence. Like, what do you feel is like the next big challenge for New Wave?
Ooh, I would say focusing more on growth is definitely something that we are seeing as a bigger challenge, because we do have a pretty solid tech team. We have our CTO, we have three other part time engineers working on this. So I would say our tech team is definitely pretty solid. But in terms of more the growth side, the marketing side, it is me and
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln, my co founder, or more so me. So I feel like it is. We have to also think about, okay, how do we expand our team, but at the same time focusing on growth and acquiring users. So I think once you have the tech, how do we attract people to use it? I think that's something we're continuing to learn more from, and I'm excited to learn more from other of your podcasts as well, to see how
Mm-hmm.
other startup founders grow their product as well.
Are you thinking about fundraising anytime soon? Is that something on your mind?
Yeah, definitely. We actually initially, I would say, influencer like content creation just amazing. So we posted two videos on the Chinese platform Redno, and then it gathered, I think, close to 9K views, which is not like crazy big, but we actually got like, I was looking through my DMs, we actually got like, wow, 20 DMs, just people asking us, and out of those 20 DMs, five of them were coming from different different funds, like different companies. They
Mm-hmm.
reached out to us and was introducing us, and really excited to have those initial chats with us. So most of them are either VCs or angel investor funds, and I just wanted to say those opportunities are through content creation. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So that it's definitely something that we're looking into, but we also wanted to build a solid product and then generate some revenue before we can invite other factors into it.
Definitely. And coming to like all of this about like fundraising and then growing a startup to the next realm, revenue is a very important thing. And one of the biggest challenges when you deal with a startup and revenue is that the moment you start charging your customers, you have a lot of churn. A
Mhm.
lot of people just tend to walk away because they feel like they might or will find a better product for free. Uh,
Right.
so do you guys have is do you guys see this like a big challenge for the marketing space? Do you guys have any ideas of how to tackle this? Or do you just have like a solid customer base which is like pretty loyal?
Oh, great question. I would say because there's so much competition in the market, and some of them charges an insane amount just for the service
Mm-hmm.
fee to charge the brands. So I think our advantage actually comes in with a lower pricing model than those competition. And so I think in terms of price, we're probably doing better. But I think in terms of driving real ROI, that that kind of comes in how we improve our product to drive real ROI for those startup founders, because we don't want to waste their money. They are paying
Yeah.
influencers and then wasting the money as well. But I think it's definitely a lot of challenges along the way. I'm sure you guys
Mhm.
can all relate,
Yeah,
but continue pushing. I would say that.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's a very good point that you mentioned, like, that uh, just about, that you guys are planning to like just undercut the market, if I'm like to put it bluntly. That's a very great strategy that you guys are implementing there. Yeah.
Thank you. How about you guys? Do you guys think that you are also open to fundraising at the moment, or trying to do? Is it like more bootstrap?
We were initially uh, thinking of only fundraising, but after talking to a lot of people, we understood that we gotta build a user base, build some
Yeah.
sort of traction before we can look for funding. And one of my friend that we interviewed before also gave us a good quote saying that the best times to raise funds is when you don't need the money. And I
Yes, I
think
Yeah.
heard that
that
too. I heard that too.
I think that
Yeah.
resonates a lot. And now we're basically improving our product. We're doing more of a user understanding. We initially built something that was like a one-stop shop for everything, and that doesn't bring a clear focus and a clear like future roadmap for us. So I think we're trying to focus on a few specific aspects of the startup
Yeah.
ecosystem and slowly grow from there by understanding what our users like as well and building upon that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
initially I think the one mistake, if I should say it that way, was that we gave the users too many choices to the point that they didn't know what to do. There's like, choice fatigue, because you see all sorts of things and then you just don't feel like using the platform. So now we're focusing on like one singular feature that's going to be like the main attraction of our website, of a startup, and then slowly once and when people start getting accustomed to the platform and they stay there for the feature, and then we slowly start introducing more supplemental features throughout this thing. Even though everything is already built, it's just not introduced yet.
Yeah, I agree. Because initially we encounter something similar as well, where you discover so many issues in this market, and
Yeah.
trying to solve all of that.
So
Then
yeah,
it's like obviously it's a lot of work to already solve those issues, and you realize you only have limited amount of energy as well. So solving one niche problem is probably better than solving 10
definitely,
problems, but you're not solving it as well as that one problem you're solving.
exactly.
Yeah. I also feel like in the startup world, it's almost like there's almost like no right or wrong answer. You're like, and there's the guidance that you get is limited in a way, because if you're in a school environment or whether in a corporate environment, there's always like a one right answer to something, or there's some guidance.
Yes.
You have a professor, you can look at your classmate to see how they finished their homework. There's
Yeah,
always that, design path to the right answer. But I think what's fun and what's also challenging with startup, it's almost like you're finding that solution yourself. You don't know if the other people did it right. They might did it out of luck. They
yeah,
Whatever it is, you just have to find your own path, which I think is really interesting.
exactly. Definitely. And to just like build upon your narrative, I also think like a very big part of that is timing, because a lot of companies and startups become big because of their timing.
Right.
And it a lot of startups may go like years, like maybe decades before they hit like any sort of meaningful valuation, whereas some startups are like hit the $1 billion valuation from like day one. It's all about the timing. Maybe it's just that your user base doesn't exist yet. So
Mhm.
you just gotta like keep going at it, keep improving it, keep taking feedback from people in the space, especially the customers you're trying to serve. So especially the individuals who are willing to pay a hefty amount of sum for the services that you offer. These are the people I feel like we should definitely keep taking feedback from and like keep building on it, because it may just like as you said, like just be a timing thing. It's just our user base isn't there yet.
Right, exactly. Almost like Cluely as well. Right after Cluely came
Yeah,
out, there's so many different companies that can do exactly what they're doing
exactly.
because Cluely did such a great job of marketing and also jumping
Yeah,
during that time as well. They were able to acquire
exactly.
at least the attention part of the market, and
Yeah,
that's votes for their product instead of their actual
yeah,
technology. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
All
Yep.
right.
And yeah,
So,
go ahead.
just hopping off of the building user base part, are you are you networking? Are you going to any offline events to help build your user base, get more users, more offline rather than like social marketing? I know that's one aspect, but are you also doing things offline?
Yeah, so I would say in terms of user acquisition, we have mainly two approach, like you mentioned, Pranav. One is in-person events and outreach, and I think those has been really effective. After going to SF Tech Week, we actually was able to meet like a bunch of YC founders, and actually they all have the same need. And when you build that one-on-one conversation, know their pain points, it's a lot easier for them to get to know the product. And so I think the other part is also social media content marketing, and I think that part can help us drive more probably, uh, actually, I would say a good amount like influencers and also startup founders as well. Have a lot of different founders reach out to me and ask me, okay, when can I use your product? So I would say those two are definitely the main approaches, but I'm very open-minded to seeing if there's more other ways to grow. If you guys have any insights into that, I would love to learn.
You're the marketing person. Yeah, you're supposed to give us all the tips and tricks and
Yeah,
all the hidden secrets. We don't
Yeah.
know much about the space. That I think Prosh is still in the phase where like trying to figure out social media and how we can like probably use it to our advantage. We're just like
yeah,
trying all the avenues possible.
Right.
Just building on what you said about in-person events,
Mhm.
did New Wave by any chance meet their competitors in these local events? Were you guys lucky or unlucky enough to meet anyone doing like something similar or the same thing?
I would say it's really funny because we've gotten a lot of opportunities or like we actually talked to a bunch of like potential users, right? Like startup founders and or influencers. Initially, when every time we talk to them, we're like, "Oh yeah, we're building this," and they're always like, "Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this?" Like it just keeps coming every single meeting, and then I think it was such a frustrating moment every single time because we're like, "Oh my god, another one! Oh my god, another one!" That was just very very upsetting, I would say. But I think it all comes down to like okay, this competitor exists, and let's like look at them, and then
Hmm.
how can we differentiate among this whole group? So I think that was actually really helpful for us to stand out as well. And in a way, it's good that there are people already using those competitor products because that proves exactly there is a market. People are really using and paying for that. So that's the validation for the market. It's just a matter of how we can build upon our product and really solve people's problems. So I would say I need to shift the perspective just a little bit to be like, okay, it's a good thing, but how do we really do our next steps? Yeah,
Definitely.
very interesting question for sure. Have you guys encountered any of your competitors?
yeah. I think mostly through virtual calls when we try to speak to people in the space. They
Mhm.
always every single person has told us like, "Have you tried this? Do you know they're doing the
Yes,
same thing?
yes,
What are you doing differently?" And there's we spoke to a guy earlier who said, "I've been in the industry for 15 years. I've seen hundreds of these, and they always fail after a few months. You there's I don't think you're in the right space." And it's a little demotivating to hear it from someone, especially with that much of experience in the space. But I think as long as we keep building and have differentiating features that help us stand out from the other competitors, it is still worth pushing forward.
yeah, definitely. I can definitely relate. Everyone is just like, "Have you used this? Have you heard of this?" And then I remember initially I was like, like I never heard of them, but I have to pretend I've heard of them. So I have to be like, yeah,
Yes,
wait,
yeah.
how do you spell it?
I've
I've
been
heard
in a
of them, though, but
situation,
how do you
yeah.
spell them? It was really funny. Uh,
Definitely, yeah. I think ever since we started like building Prosh like full time, I think I don't know if it's the algorithm, but every time we go on Instagram, we see a startup which is like very similar, like in all aspects to like what we are doing, and then they always show up in our like those suggestive ads, like, oh
Yeah.
hey, this is something
yeah,
you might like, and I'm like, these people have got this algorithm like spot on, like they always show our competitors, and sometimes it's demotivating because sometimes uh they have like millions of followers, and other times they have like less followers than us. So it's a whole spectrum. I feel like in the space Prosh is, and it definitely is going to be challenging. And I feel like a lot of it again comes to timing, because a lot of these people have been in the space for a very long time.
right, right.
So yeah, it just like clicks. It will click at some point. It just like we gotta like just keep going at it and keep listening to our users.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes, um, I mean, their marketing might be good. They're like
Yeah,
making content, but the product's not as good as they've advertised it to be. And I think that's why I know we have a good product, and now we're trying to push into the space of marketing to like get more people to start using it and understand how good it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I feel like marketing makes such a big portion of the success of your product.
Hmm.
And this is where I feel like New Wave might actually be uh, a very good go-to source for a lot of these startups like us, like who are trying to bootstrap, who just have like less than 10 employees. They don't, they're all like into tech. All the founders are just like tech oriented, and they don't have much, marketing experience like us,
Yeah.
and they don't have the time to figure it out. I feel like New Wave can like really be a good go-to source for companies like these.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's why we're trying to also continue building, trying to solve the issue or the problem that startup founders are facing, and we'll see what happens after that.
Definitely, definitely. It's just a matter about like being able to like just capitalize on the right sectors. You just gotta approach the right people at the right time, and maybe while we're on the topic of that, like how, if you're able to talk about this, what is like New Wave's strategy of like uh growing? So I mean, when I say growing in this context, so as per my understanding, you guys have like two components. One is the influencers themselves, and one is the startups.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no, how do I say this? There's no shortage of startups, but how do you guys expand on the influencer front? Do you guys have a strategy for that?
Yeah, because I would say acquiring users for the startup founders is definitely much easier because the need for them to expand, to scale is definitely stronger. And for the creators, I think we're definitely testing social media and how it works. Ooh, I would say it's definitely something that we're continue to
Mhm.
work on, because that's also the feedback we got from just the social media videos. We have much more feedback from the startup founders, but less on the influencer side. So I would say that's something we're continuing to testing out and see how we can grow that user base.
Also, I think the type of content the influencers make also matters. Like, let's say you're doing a beauty or a skincare brand, I think it would resonate a lot more with the viewers of that
Mm-hmm.
specific content creator. But so you'll have to find creators specifically in the niche market that your startup is building and connect them in a way that they can
Yes.
produce content.
Yeah, it is definitely a growing niche of creators, and I see them out there. I think uh, it is more so how we successfully acquire them.
Yeah, definitely. It could be a bit challenging, but I feel like that is a avenue worth investing a lot of energy into, because when you do have a bunch of like strong influencer faces that you guys can showcase on your platform, and that itself would drive a lot of interest into the product itself and would just like ensure its success. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
an avenue. Yeah,
yeah, definitely need to think about different avenues to grow our influencer base. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for talking with us today and sharing your experience and your journey. Last question I wanted to ask if you had any advice or like something you'd like to say to someone
Yeah.
in the space or someone trying to start something new.
yeah. Like,
Ooh.
was the one advice or one thing startup should avoid when they're getting into marketing? You know, maybe either or one thing
Yeah.
they should do or one thing they shouldn't do.
Ooh.
Or whatever you think is you've learned or like because you have been on social media for so long
Yeah.
and like this is a space that you're like comfortable with and like you know how to read people, how to read the trends. Is there any
Oh.
advice?
Yeah. I would say the one thing that popped up in my mind is that if you're someone who's looking to start your own startup or just like maybe get started in this whole journey, I would say is to really understand what your own edge is, what makes you stand out among the other people. So whether it is that you have a background in this, like very niche, or like you have this insight in this that allows you to have something that other people don't have. And I think that is going to be your secret weapon to whether pitching your product even building your product. I think that's going to be your unique or like your superpower in accomplishing a lot of things. So I would say that's definitely really important for anyone who's looking to start. And I would say the second thing is to really do your competitor research right before you start anything, and use Prosh if you can. Yeah, I think we started very blindly in a way where we didn't do like as extensive as a competitor research into the market, and that's why when we hear people talking about, "Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this?" It
Yeah.
always discourages us a little bit. But I think
Yes.
for anyone who's looking to start, if they have done a more comprehensive research into the market, what's there, what's not there, then it would eliminate a lot of those friction throughout the process.
Definitely, that is something which as you mentioned now, that's something when we struggle with right now. After we have like an MVP and we have a vision, is when we're like diving deeper into like the customer understanding of what a product is. That is something we should have done earlier. But it's actually never too late. You can always pivot and change your product to how the
Mhm.
customer sees fit. It's making a choice on which customer segment to serve because there is a lot of people out there looking for a lot of different products to suit a lot of their needs. So you can
Mhm.
always build. I would say like don't worry, everyone is in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just are so passionate about that idea, they just go ahead and build it. And
Right.
just the validation comes second, and
Right.
which is a very normal thing. But you guys are on like a great path. And yeah, if you guys like all the very best success. And let's hope going forward people use Prosh for like validating our ideas and they use New Wave for marketing.
Yeah. From
Yeah.
one to another,
The-
it's perfect transition.
yeah.
Yeah, but also really appreciate you guys to have this interview as well. I think it was a great time for me to not only share but also reflect on my own journey and also learn from you guys' experience as well. And I think that's what Startup World is all about. It's about
Yeah,
connecting, and we're all so young. I think we have to connect and learn from each other. I think that's
exactly.
the biggest value of living in this day and age.
Exactly. Do you have any other finishing remarks, Victoria, before we like put a bow on this and wrap it up?
I think that should be, is it too bad if I plug like feel
No,
free to
go
join
ahead. Go
our
ahead.
Yeah.
support
Go ahead.
products.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so right now we actually opened our waitlist
Hmm.
to our beta product, so people can be the first to use our product, and you would get priority matching and
Hmm.
all kinds of hands-on onboarding. So if any of the listeners are interested in joining, feel free to type in new-wave.ai and you can join the waitlist from there. Yeah.
we'll add
Do we get a special bump up on the wait list?
Yeah, of course, of course. Of course.
that was something we were supposed to discuss on the side. Yeah,
Right.
definitely. We will make sure to advertise you as well to our users, and send them like a mail. Whoever has used our platform, be like, hey, in order to use Prosh, maybe like use New Wave to like market it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And thank you so much for your time, Victoria. Yeah. You
All
have
the
been
best for
great
New
for today.
Wave.